More scope to prosecute those who give false information to public servants. 225 such cases were reported last year. Also, stiffer penalties for some sexual offences. They're among proposed changes to the Criminal Law Bill, which has been introduced in Parliament. The Penal Code was last amended 2 years ago. Deborah Wong reports.
If the bill is passed, it will be a crime to give false information to public servants, with the intent of causing them to be ineffective or inefficient in their job. Today, the law only covers the offence if the intention is to cause authorities to improperly use or not use their lawful powers. The scope for voluntarily obstructing public servants in doing their job will be clarified. This obstruction need not be physical. It can be in the form of giving false information. The maximum jail term will also be doubled to 6 months.
The case of a man, Chua Wen Hao, forms a prime example of why the proposed changes could matter. Now, 4 years ago, Chua visited this hotel with a woman and his friend, Lau Sheng Shun. When Lau was told that only 2 people were allowed in the room, he left but decided to set fire to some towels at the hotel's back alley. Chua later told police that he didn't know who Lau was, and police spent nearly 22 hours investigating Lau's identity. Now, authorities say that this is problematic because if suspects remain at large, that could compromise public safety.
The proposed changes aim to provide greater clarity, and in doing so,
that takes away, I suppose, any concern someone would have if I genuinely believe that the information that I'm providing would be useful to the police officers. We shouldn't forget that ultimately the burden is always on the prosecution and therefore on the police to gather enough information to prove that someone is intentionally giving false information to the police.
Ms. Niam says those who commit such offences are typically the suspects themselves, or trying to protect someone close to them from being identified. While she believes the changes could deter such crimes,
as a defence counsel, I would naturally want to see more clarity in terms of what ineffective and inefficient would mean, because I think those terms tend to be a bit more subjective in nature.
In line with a review of the sentencing framework announced in March, other proposed changes include tougher penalties for 3 sexual offences. The maximum jail term for molest will be raised from 2 to 3 years. Those who perform a sex act in the presence of a minor between 14 and 16 years old or show sexual images to them can be jailed up to 2 years, from the current 1 year. The same will apply if the minor is between 16 and 18 years old, and if the offender is in an exploitative relationship with them.